So, here we go. Broadcasts are live.
Forgot to open mine on YouTube. By the way, I haven't checked which microphone I turned on our call. Do you hear me well?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, supposed to. Yeah, looks correct. Correct microphone.
We are live. Let's begin with VK. Here we go. Yep.
There's a message. Big good evening, boss. Wish you great stream as always. Thank you, Ota. Good evening to you too.
Responded faster than I did. Wow, that's impressive.
Well, you are busy.
Yeah.
With stuff, so I'm taking
Hello.
this.
Thank you for your unwavering support. Okay, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm planning to grab this picture, drop it into the messages with myself. Done.
My neighbors are so loud lately. Like upstairs neighbors, they're traditional upstairs neighbors. They constantly, I don't know, jumping, rolling some stuff on the floor, throwing some stuff on the floor, dropping stuff on the. I don't know what they do, to be honest, but it's always this like thoughts of sounds.
Remember, it's a simulation.
Well,
they don't exist in fact. It's just sounds recorded, pre-recorded sounds. Remember
how
that?
we discussed it? I don't remember. Yeah.
It was that video with Arthas from Warcraft.
Right. Yes.
I rewatched it recently.
Yeah. I can't even see them from my balcony. Like I don't see upstairs from my balcony. It feels like I have like the last floor. And for some time, I thought my building only had like so many floors. That I'm on the upper one, because from my balcony it's impossible to see any upper floors. And it was such like confusion to me. Like who is living in the roof? Like why are there so many sounds from the roof? But then from the outside, I saw that my building is like this layered kind of staircase kind of thing. So yeah.
That was probably suspicious. I can imagine.
Yeah. Word simulation gives all the chills after some movie. Yeah, we watched like a movie with like simulation. It was kind of weird movie, to be honest. Almost like Matrix, but kind of. It feels a little bit worse, to be honest. But it's like more ominous, more creepy. Supposed to be. It was on the ship as well.
Was it
so
Titanic?
No. Yeah, but the worst part is that it didn't like they didn't tell why was everything happening. Like there was no answer to those clues and to those riddles, and it was supposed to be in the second season, but it got cancelled. So there are no answers. So it just feels like kind of,
So that was a series, not a movie.
like like a small TV show.
Yeah, story is ready. Should be in a moment. At least Gotcha.
Oh, I wanted to this time to post it on my other account, like with the art,
Oh,
but it's okay.
should I redo that then, maybe?
No, it's okay. Don't worry.
Why did you want to do that though?
I wanted to post that like microphone thing, the 3D thing.
Oh, let me just change that. I mean,
Is that okay?
yes, I should probably delete this one, right? Uh, I will just
Would be a great help.
save this
Thank
one.
you.
Then uh,
Although the links wouldn't work.
I'll just how to say that? I'll just
On
post
top, put it on
over
top.
them. Yeah, just
Yeah.
lazy posting, you know.
Yeah. I do that too sometimes when sometimes also like I prepare the posts and yeah, I have like sometimes I forget that there are links and stuff and I just
Although
save it and then put something on top.
there is no difference actually because I'll have to do exactly the same amount of work. So we are live with yes, then this emoji, then link. Watch on YouTube. My autocorrect suggested watch on you,
What?
watch on you, like and whatever that was supposed to mean.
Quite confusing.
Yeah, kind of passive aggressive, I would say. Like look at yourself instead of YouTube. So, okay, Twitch is empty. The game is also empty today. Let's hope somebody comes later. Somebody joins us on other platforms. So the story is there, right?
Yes, I'm reposting it right now.
Mm-hmm. Let me turn off the VPN then. Okay, have I disabled the sound? Yeah, and I have. And the final message to send. My neighbors today are.
I can hear them, yes.
Yeah, they're like marching, pretending that they're marching somewhere, some crusade, or I think they have a child. So, and that doesn't
That's
happen.
what I think about my neighbors too. So it only proves the simulation kind of thing, like it's all the same recording.
Yes, yes. Looks like that. Oh, Revan number 1 came on Twitch. That's our common friend Vova. Welcome. Have to remind
We
you
looked at
that.
the window, and at first I thought that you saw someone in the window, like somebody came.
Nah, that's
Because
well,
I know that this "oh" is like typically when you meet a people, like a person, when you see a
right.
person, you make this sound. But so I was like, "Who's there?" Yeah.
Well, thankfully, I cannot see anyone on my balcony. Although, if I do, that will be an interesting twist, of course. Quite unexpected, but still. All right.
I interrupted you. You were saying something. Your mind
Yeah, I
something.
just wanted to remind Vova that today we're speaking English here. Just, I don't mind Russian messages, but just for the others to be able to read the message, it will be more convenient if you type in English. Yeah, just this. But thank you for coming. It's really appreciated. Right. I'm trying to understand if I have forgotten anything. Probably not. All notifications. We again are under 10 minutes on preparation. So everything's fine. We can begin.
Sure. Yes.
So hello and welcome everyone. Here is Andy. Here is Nancy. Vova just almost quoted me on Twitch. Good day, hello to everyone. Or maybe he just predicted properly. Welcome to the bonfire. I'm not sure I said that. If I did, sorry for the repetition. We are recording episode 21 of of Bonfire Talks. Talk about this and that. But this episode is about weekly reflections of speculations of us, me and Nancy. Nancy, hello and welcome to the call.
Hello. Yes.
How are you today?
Oh, quite good. Getting rest, getting some rest. Although I haven't slept well today. Yeah, but I feel pretty much good. Excited about doing stuff in my on my vacation. Yes.
You're still having it, right? It's last like a few
Yes.
days.
Yeah. Till yeah, a few days left, and on Monday I'm back to work.
Mm.
So um, it's quite good. Can't say I'm not enjoying it. Just being free, doing whatever I want, feels nice. Um, yes. So I want to ask you how are you before I start blabbing about my vacation more because I
Mm.
expect you to ask about that, but I still want to ask
Mm.
you first.
Right. Yeah. So I'm. Mm, it's complicated. It's like I have realized. I realized yesterday that I hadn't streamed for a week already. I mean, since our last episode,
Mm,
actually, and that felt surprisingly alright. I mean, I kind of didn't even notice that it happened, which is actually a shame. I I was like, wow, what? How did that happen? Another thing is some work-related stuff that I'm trying to, as I say weekly, I'm trying to enhance my business activity to no avail now, and rather like there are some disturbances in the schedule which make me financially very sad. Um, so speaking of positive things, I cooked crepes today because it's Maslenitsa.
mm, yeah.
So bunch of quite thin crepes actually. They're thin and it's visible because their edges curl up after some
Mm.
time because they get
But,
crispy as they cool down
mhm,
because of the thinness. Um, I sent emails to different gaming companies yesterday offering my
mm,
service as an English club moderator. I'm not sure how successful that will be. I haven't got any response, but I did that like 24 hours ago. It's a long process, but
mhm,
I'm kind of mentally ready for silence. I think that is a
mhm,
very high possibility that I won't get a single response. And I'll just need to think of some other ways to continue.
mhm.
Um, yeah.
Well, let me know how it goes, and
Yeah.
hopefully you'll get responses
Mm-hmm.
at least.
So I would say like it's not a simple answer. I mean, it's like you asked about like I think the tone of your question was brief, and I'm kind of unfolding the full answer. But it's just I cannot
To
say
my
that.
taste, it's not a full answer yet. Even
I'm sorry.
my taste is not a full answer even. Like, how are you? Well, full answer takes you typically half an hour or something.
Yeah, true, true. It's just that I mean I cannot say that I think about anything else but that. I mean I think about these things a lot because they actually start to bother me a lot, and it's hard to get my mind off and think of something. Just well, yeah. There was another thing. I started reading Strugatsky brothers. I read "It's Hard to Be a God." 2 days ago, in just one day. I just started in the morning and like finished in the evening, just while I had time. So it took me like 3 hours maybe to finish the book. It's short, so only 250 pages. And yesterday started Picnic on the Side Road is the literal translation. I'm not sure it's the same. Roadside Picnic. Oh, I almost guessed. So,
Hello, Alec,
oh,
as well. It's a good
oh,
start.
who,
Nice to see you.
Strugatsky has summoned you. I know Oleg is a big fan of Strugatsky brothers, and we are both fans of one person who inspired me to read Strugatsky. He knows who I'm talking about. Um, okay, that's interesting. That's uplifting to see some new people here. It's a pleasure. My great and big hello, as we started to say here on the stream, to you and to Alina, of course. I saw your updates on
Yes.
Instagram. It was quite incredible to see what pleasant things you had there, and the view from your window was incredible. All right, yeah, thanks for giving her our regards. So, Distant Rainbow, another book. Okay, I think I will probably read more of Strugatsky. And one more thing, the final thing I'm gonna say, answering to your question, Nancy, is I saw Dune, the second
Oh,
part
you
in the
really?
cinema.
Good.
Yeah, and I mean,
Don't
it,
spoil it though yet, please.
yeah, it's important to notice that, to mention that, sorry, uh, before Saturday when I went to the cinema, I hadn't been to the cinema for 7 years. For 7 years.
Yeah.
So last time before Saturday was in 2017 August, and I broke my streak to go and see the second installment of Dune with my girlfriend, and
Was it worth it?
yes, absolutely.
The
So
movie?
yes, it was worth it. It was not a disappointment, at least, and it was actually a great experience, all in all. So I think it's a movie to see in the cinema, exactly, not at home.
Have you seen the first one though?
No.
No.
But I already read the narrative, the plot on Wikipedia, so
All right, right.
that's my
Yeah.
method. So I was told that the first movie. Have you seen the first one?
I've seen first one, yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
it's
was
it's
not
like
impressed to be honest.
it's like not prequel, but kind of preparation for the second one.
Yeah, but could have been shorter to my opinion. Like it's a little bit long.
Jean Baptiste, I think, said this in his interview. Like the first movie was, even he said, like one of the actors. So like we were like
Yeah.
preparing you for the second one. Ready to join us watching the second part. Oh, you got company for.
Yeah, we actually met with Oleg and Alina. I don't remember which day it was, Sunday, I think. So, and we talked about June as well. So yeah, I am ready to join. So whenever you guys are ready, let's just catch up. And yeah, I'm actually, I think what was, the last time I saw it was like Napoleon movie we saw in the cinema.
I was still in
Um,
in Georgia at that time, I think. No.
Yeah, I think so. I
It
think so.
was December, I think.
Yeah. Yes. It's quite nice to go to the cinema, to be honest. I quite miss this. Like, it's just the um even if the movie isn't great, but if you have a company and just the whole experience of going out and going to those, I know, this popcorn smell, this atmosphere, I love it.
Mm. Um,
Nice.
Popcorn smell, yes. I didn't buy any popcorn there, but then I bought it in the supermarket 2 days later, and my stomach was after that like, "Am I a joke to you?" And I mean, I think popcorn is no longer my friend. It looks like
Yeah, yeah. But I also kind of like, I don't like eating it. Like, I feel quite empty after it. Like, if that makes sense, like full but empty at the
yeah.
same time. It feels
I
weird.
I think it's
And
what I
I
feel
just
after
like the
buckwheat.
smell.
There are some grains make me feel like that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's yeah. So just the smell, and also I love like when you finish the movie and you go out of the like, not, was it cinema hall,
I
cinema,
think so. The whole.
yeah, and you like discuss the movie, some impressions and stuff. It's just I feel like it's nice.
Mm,
That's the part I love about going to the cinemas, I think.
mm.
Yeah.
I'm unable to discuss things. I was reminded that I don't like movies partly because they just overwhelm me. If it is a good movie, it
Mm.
overwhelms me. If it is not a good movie, it makes me feel very toxic, and I just feel very like a bad person after that. Like because I want to literally be caustic about everything I see, and I want to also be toxic about the movie in the first place. But a good movie resonates so much that I get kind of flooded with emotions and I get triggered by different factors, and then I'm unable to. So it kind of like puts me down for some time emotionally, and I get overcharged,
Mm.
and so it happens even with movies when I watch them at home. So I think that's just my defense mechanism working, that I refuse to watch movies because I don't want, like, the problem is that if I'm playing a game, I have control over the situation. I can change things. I can influence the reality. I can make decisions. I can fight with injustice and so on and so forth. While in the movie, I'm just sitting and watching some like very often bullshit that makes me cringe and desperate, and that is just unbearable. I like because I know
It's
these
like
things.
life.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't need to be reminded about that in such a vivid
Yeah.
form. That's my problem. Like I like it's like being a super empath. I think we're both like that. Maybe it's just slightly different for me. In some way, like I get too much, like too big a message from there, and
Mhm.
so it actually gets painful. So I don't think that's one of the bigger reasons that why I dropped cinema as a concept for myself. What about books then? A good question. You can't control the plot as well. I can flip through pages like crazy. And I do
You can
that.
also watch on the like X2 speed, sometimes.
In
I remember I watched like I think it was like James Bond movie or something. I think it was James Bond movie, and there was like recently there was like James Bond movie in the cinemas like a few years ago, and I haven't watched James Bond movies before, so I had to watch them before going to the cinema to know what it's about. And it was like very tight deadline, so the end of the movie I was watching on like almost X3 X4 speed, which is hilarious to watch James Bond James Bond, James Bond fighting like bad guys, but very fast. Like there is no drama anymore. There was like some lady
well,
dying or something.
some Looney Tunes.
Exactly. It was like super fun, to be honest. I mean, I remember there was somebody died, somebody, like, it was a very dramatic end. It was very dramatic, but
Very dramatic. Okay.
but not for me.
Mhm.
So yeah. It's actually a quite nice way to watch movies as well.
Mm.
Yeah. But I don't know, for movies, I just like to like stories. It's nice, but if I get overwhelmed when I play games, for example. That's where I cannot stand. Like I get super overwhelmed. I get too emotional. It's very hard to get back to real life after them. Like movies, yeah, they also kind of affect me. I think like sometimes after some movies, I would go out in the cinema and I don't want to talk to my friends or to whoever I went to the cinema with. And I'm like also very grumpy if people trying to talk to me. I'm like don't you see, like reality doesn't matter anymore, like
Mm.
we're not in this reality, we're like no, like have you seen actually have you seen the character, have you seen the like have you got any idea what you watched? Like I'm getting very annoyed, which also not a very nice trait, I guess, because like I guess you want to discuss something. If you go like together, you suppose that you'll be discussing movie. But after some movies, I get like that. Not always. Um, I don't remember that happening at home much, I think, because I just don't get too lost in the movie, I would say.
Mm.
But also, like in the cinemas, I get very distracted by the people around. And I'm so used to watching movies like on my laptop that in the cinema it annoys me that I cannot like pause to think of something, or like I have no control over watching a movie in the cinema. Yeah. But back to games. Well, I always tell that story about Dragon Age where I just couldn't finish the game because my fellow um, my friends in my like team, they died after like there was just the first big battle. I think there was like this how do you call them in like in English, the like the bad guys, like this
Not the scourge, the not the filth. Oh, yeah,
something like that.
there was some
Yeah.
special word there for that.
This
Mm, Dragon Age Origins enemy Darkspawn. They were
dark spawn.
Darkspawn. Yeah.
Okay, so they were running after like us or like on us, and we were facing them, and I was so scared because I understood that I'm right now have to fight them. I saw this as if I was in the battle myself. Like I don't even like when I try to remember this. Um, in my head, I'm in the field. I'm not in front of my laptop playing. I'm there. So I remember how like after the battle I got so emotional, like I closed the game. I don't think I played much after that. It was like
Mm.
it's too much. Like it's as if it happened in real life. And often when I play like any games now, well, I typically get very like excited. I speak like I don't speak in real life. I allow myself a lot more emotions, a lot more like swearing words as well. I'm
Mm.
like kind of a different person when I play games, which is funny to me, but yeah.
It's interesting how immersive it becomes for you, like a game. I mean, I understand Dragon Age. Well, first of all, hello, Lost Night for the Cross. Also, what happened with her? Whom? Who are you talking about? About characters in Dragon Age, or I think there were several, right? Your companions.
Well, yeah.
Did she lose in Sky? Excuse me? I'm not sure what that is
Yeah.
about. So we were talking about Dragon Age Origins. So
Are you pondering
yeah,
on what?
I'm just waiting for the clarification. Okay. Yeah, so we were talking about how emotional we get with games and movies and books. So with games, I think it's, for me, it's a good effect. I mean, yeah, I take it personally, but probably you take it that
It's
super
nice.
super
Yes, I
personally.
agree.
And Dragon Age is a
It's
grim game at some point, so it can hit.
it's it's quite nice. It's just like sometimes, well, you want to play games to relax a little bit, and I don't feel relaxed after I play a game. I feel more emotionally drained typically, like more than if I watched a movie or read a book. So it's harder sometimes to decide to play a game, although I do like it. But also when I typically play a game, I just walk around and enjoy the surroundings. I don't go through stories much exactly because I'm just lost there.
Well, so we have kind of slightly different response here and there. Like with films, I get more emotional than necessary, and you get more emotional than necessary with games. As for books, coming back to that, so I can flip pages and I can like read what happened next. I deflate the tension, and then I can come back to the point where
Do you
I
like
got emotional.
do you read faster or do you like really literally flip through pages and don't
No,
see?
I just like if so I can actually jump like kind of diagonally through pages. And
Skipping.
yeah,
Almost. Yeah.
until the culmination is until the culmination happens, and then I come back. Sometimes if I don't so if I skip through pages and I don't see through lines and I don't see the culmination, I can actually flip pages like 10, 20. I can look at the end of the book at some points just to stop the tension from rising. Because because I think empathize a lot to characters, and or maybe it just quite triggersome, gets really triggersome, and I just don't want to feel this flood of emotions that I'm experiencing, and I want to de-escalate it in my head. And you know of my method. You know my method when I watch cybersport like matches. I first check the result, and then I watch the match. It's my typical like approach to Dota matches or Warcraft matches. So because I don't care for the result, and very often I pick the team that will lose, like very often, and I get disappointed in the end, especially if they have some cool hero or some unusual tactic they're using. And so knowing the result actually helps me enjoy just the game, the performance, and so on and so forth. So I'm not competitive in that aspect also. And the
Interesting.
message, the only time I cried during the film is when cars pushed that shoehorn over the finish. Well, I guess you're not serious because that is not the most heartbreaking moment in cinema industry, but it is a touching moment, I guess, if I remember that correctly.
Interesting approach in like skipping and getting to know the end result, because when I watched the movie with one of my friends, and they were always like reading the Wikipedia page of the movie to know the plot, to know everything, how it ends. And I was so like, I was always like, no, why do you do that? Like I'm, especially if I already watched the movie and I wanted to show the movie or the TV show to them, and like so that they go through this exact thing, like they get unexpected turns, they like get emotions from the movie, and they just read everything, they're prepared. And I mean, it always was kind of bewildering to me, to be honest. And but I guess, yeah, it helps with to ease an anxiety in some sort. Yet I don't want to skip this part in reading a book and watching a movie. I like this when you feel something actually when you watch a movie or reading something. I don't have that lately, I think. Especially with books, unfortunately, lately. It's more like plain experience.
Let me just respond quickly to that other message. The funny thing is that Mussolini car wins the race. I unfortunately cannot support the topic because I watched the animation very long ago. If it's about cars, Is it
I
about?
think so. I'm also not sure, and I
Yeah.
also watched the cartoon a very long time ago. So
And I'm also kind of in a really somber mood today, quite pensive. So I cannot really be cheerful and support the joking vibe. Sorry, but we appreciate that you're here with us. So just I hope it's not a
yes,
problem that we're trying to have a serious conversation. So and not really trying to slip into some.
that's how I'm gonna respond to people sometimes. Like, I hope it's not a problem that I'm trying to have a serious conversation.
Yes, yes, and it's not. It wasn't even meant toxically. I mean, I have to underscore that. I meant that
Exactly,
genuinely.
exactly.
So I genuinely apologized, and I genuinely am trying to have a serious conversation. So about what you said. So it's like I think there are areas in our life where we can afford to kind of probe and experiment and face some anxiety provoking things, but some areas are not as comfortable. Like for me, that wouldn't be comfortable to do that with my comfort zones. Like cyber sport for me used to be comfort zone, and it is still now. So I don't want to create stress where I actually try to relax, and like I don't feel that I want to challenge myself there. About so at the same time, there are games or books where I would have preferred to not know the plot twist, and I didn't know it. I mean, so I actually was surprised about something, and I cherish that surprise. So it's not that I want to spoil literally everything for myself, no. And like there is this some kind of magic of the plot, which especially if a talented writer is behind it, you want to be tricked and surprised and astonished and bewildered. So it's just not everywhere. Like in games, I think I would prefer to have no spoilers at all, because
Yeah.
I'm ready to embrace the narrative. In movies, I don't care. Like mostly, I don't care because I read them. Like I specifically go to Wikipedia, read the plot, yes, and for me it's fine. With books, depends. I mean, what kind of plot twist are you expecting with business literature? Like you actually have to have not $10,000, but $100,000 to open a company, and like, oh my god, what a twist! I couldn't expect that. So like with fantasy, I mean, with fantasy, it's
Yeah.
actually spicy. So it builds tension, and I was listening to Brandon Sanderson in the summer, his book the Stormlight Archive, and there was also there was soundtrack uh, by that audiobook service that created the audio version, and that fit really nicely. It increased tension, and actually had like I was sweating, I think, as I was walking in the park, and people around me were quite tranquil, and I was like, and I was like, my hand was kind of clutching for the sword because the moment was so intense in my ears, and I wanted to run, I wanted to fight, like fight or flight response. So, but I now remember this with such a warm feeling because I looked for that. So maybe it's just games and books for me are enough, and I don't want that in other media.
Maybe I should check out that book. Because lately I don't remember any book that was actually interesting in a like suspenseful kind of way to me. But mostly books that I read were just triggered me, like the characters were doing something stupid, and I was so annoyed by the way they act
Don't read
and what
Brandon
they say.
Sanderson. Don't. You will be triggered, and I actually gave up after the first book. So, but the first half was incredible. I wish it was the same for the rest of it. And our companion on Twitch doesn't stop. The best plot twist is when McQueen drives back from the finish and lets Benita win. I wonder how the world would look like if USSR drove back from the finish during World War II. Ah, ooh, interesting. That's plot twist. When I started reading the message, I thought it would be a harmless message, but then it immediately became political. Good trick, very good trick. My my applause here. Well done, well done. And I'm glad that the vibe from the last stream comes back. Like we got political last time. I mean, kinda. I mean, there were two chat members who were talking about their agenda, quite subtly, but still agenda. And yeah, yes. So about books, I think Strugatsky would be actually. I mean, I think I can already recommend. It was quite enjoyable to read the first
Yeah, I
two
already wrote
books.
it down, so I'll check out what it's about. Yeah. Although, I'm reading now Peter Pan because I've never read it. And I've never actually watched a cartoon, I think. I just knew it existed, that's all. And that was actually quite surprising how cruel it is. I was expecting a very light fairy tale or something. But they're super not nice and quite cruel and talking about killing someone and stuff. And I'm like, what? That's confusing as hell. But so that's the book I kind of like. Yeah.
So it's like as cruel as like those old fairy tales with like violence and.
Not really. I wouldn't say not that cruel. I don't think it's that cruel. Yeah. Well, also Peter Pan. At least I'm in the middle of the book. At least he's not a very nice character. He's not a hero, typical hero in the book. So, which means he does some decisions. I was just make some decisions, and I was I was not expecting how kind of cruel he can get in some sort. Yeah.
How big is the book about Peter Pan?
Oh, very small, very small. Why?
I'm just interested. Well, but everything I want to read now should be in English, and I kind of. So I started to wish I had an English shop, English literature shop nearby with lots of books there, to just go and buy some, because the ones that we have in our stores, I mean, you remember the prices are absolutely exorbitant, and the quality of the books is, well, the opposite. They're just kind of below the ground, infernal, like only good for toilet paper and that's it. So it's just. So I don't want to overpay. But there are lots
I
of
can
books
send
I
you the
want
book.
to. Well, that would be nice, but I mean, all the books that I want would be a lot, really a lot.
I'll send you Peter Pan if you don't mind.
You actually bought the paper version?
Yeah. Because I like to read. I mean, it's not this super high quality book, unfortunately. Just a typical pocket kind of newspaper paper book. But I do miss reading a book before bed. I did miss it, so I typically buy 1, 2 books, read them, and then I can't help myself but buy another one because it's quite nice. Obviously, meanwhile, I read books I typically listen to them. I listen to audiobooks and I listen to several at the same time. Because reading a book before bed gets you almost nowhere in the sense of it's a very slow process. If you read 20 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, not as quick, not as fast as I want. Like I typically read like 3 books a month, I think, in general. And with reading like before bed would be just one, I guess, if so. Especially if it's like a big book, it's quite impossible.
You can read for 2 hours, or you already are sleepy.
Well, I can't. I don't. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't read for 2 hours a day.
Because I
Doesn't
just
fit into my schedule.
I did that two nights in a row, like last and the night before last, and actually it helps me a lot because it kind of pacifies my thoughts, structures them, and I can sleep better. And I wouldn't have fallen asleep anyway, so I just spend 2.5 hours each time on reading. And I mean it's such a typical activity for me to read a book, just to read a book. I did that a lot as a child, as a teenager, as a young person. So there's actually a good question.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah.
you just will finish a little bit
Sure.
the topic. I mean, sometimes I read a little bit more than like a little before bed, and it doesn't stop me from listening to books anyway. So it's actually just, well, better if I can read more. But typically, yeah, I go to bed, I read a little bit, I want to sleep. And since I can listen to books while I work or do other things, I typically try to do that because, well, why not?
So the question is, what's your favorite book? That is from Lost Night for the Cross.
Oh,
Good question. So for me, it's gonna be quite easy. My currently favorite fantasy book is this one. It's The Witcher.
I was expecting that.
Yes. So which I have read 7 times, all 7 books, all 8. So yeah, but there are plenty more like favorite books in business, in psychology, in fiction, like classics. So it's really difficult to pick. Maybe books that recently have had quite a lot of impact. Looking at my bookshelf, it's just impossible to pick, really.
Yes.
There's so many.
I always, yeah, I feel quite bad every time I get asked this question because, well, I don't think I have a favorite book, like per se. Like, I don't have one favorite book of all times, and that's what I feel should be the answer. Like, you get asked the question, and you have to answer like, well, this is one favorite book, but what does it mean? Like, do you reread it constantly? Do you or you read it once, it had an impact and you moved on, but it's still like the best book you've ever read and nothing ever compares to it. Nothing gives you the feelings. But at the same time, you read books in different ages, so nothing that affected you when you were a teenager can affect you in the same way when you're an adult. It's a different kind of feelings.
Yes.
So it's I have so many books I kind of like. It's not that hard. Well, it is hard. I'm reading the comment. It
Yes,
is hard
it
to
is
pick.
exactly. So don't gaslight
And
us, please.
and I actually like. I'm also looking at my like read list. Well, it's quite. I know. With every book I've read, I've kind of fell in love for different reasons. I either hated the book too much, but it also gave me some. Well, hate is also a very powerful emotion, feeling. And if you look correctly, you can learn from it too. Like why exactly? I read this. So my friend recommended me the book by Somerset Maugham, I think.
Mom.
Maugham.
Just mom.
Yes. Yes. So of Human Bondage and the Moon and Sixpence, the 2 books of him.
I think I
By
have the
him.
second one on the shelf. I
The
haven't
Moon
read it.
and the Moon.
Something like that. Yes. see. Mhm.
So both of those books kind of triggered me a lot. Like I was so angry with the characters
Hmm.
in each book. It was impossible to read. I had to listen to. Like I was getting so aggravated all the time. But it's also like, well, you get aggravated. Why do you get aggravated? What exactly triggers you? Is that mostly it's because I experienced that all, like not that all, not everything that they lived, but some stuff that were happening. I experienced, and it was so annoying to see it again, like to experience it again in some way, to to see it also from the person who like supposedly like if somebody done that to me and now I'm reading their perspective and I'm obviously annoyed. So it's quite interesting. It's I can say that was a good book and it was one of my favorites. One like when I think of what's your favorite book, I think of those ones. But would I read it again? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
And well, with the most popular like answer like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, the books that you read in childhood, well, I still come back to them obviously, and but like I don't want to call them like something like super great, super smart, and something that gives you a lot of knowledge. But at the right age, at the right mindset, it gives you a lot of experience, it gives you a lot of feelings, and well, gives you a good story and good feelings.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree that different books at different times, different books, and I also like I cherish my fairy tales, like books with fairy tales, which are numerous on my shelves.
Mm.
So, like in that case, I'll have to say like, well, I like this physical book that contains fairy tales because there are different
Mhm.
authors there. About Faust by Goethe, I did. It was in school program of literature, and I can say for myself that I identify with Faust in that matter that he concluded his life with like his life's purpose as, if I remember correctly, service to people, and so like to me that is exactly what I think is my kind of mission of life. So yeah, but I think I should reread it because what I read at school was, well, too long ago. I can barely remember much. Can barely remember anything about many books. So some of them I read, like Tolstoy and Karenina. I read Mark Twain and some like Chekhov and some other books, but some like Pasternak I did not. So completely forgot. Your favorite? Interesting choice. Really interesting choice. So okay, could you maybe share why? It's interesting to hear that. And Nancy, what about you with Faust?
Well, I haven't read it and I don't know much about it, unfortunately.
Oh.
That's my way to ask nicely not to spoil it.
All right.
Even though it's kind of, like, don't spoil me Star Wars. And it's like, well, have you been on the internet? But, well,
Yeah, it's like Hamlet. So like how easy it is to spoil or not spoil, for that matter, Hamlet.
I actually don't know much about it, to be honest. Like,
Mhm.
so I think you still can spoil it to me. I mean, don't, but
Mhm.
yeah. Um,
That was well phrased. You can, but don't. Right.
yeah, I'm actually getting like, well, I want to go and finish the books I'm reading right now and start new ones that we're discussing right now.
Mm.
Getting quite inspired by the talk. Um, yeah, I'm also like, remembered this book by Solzhenitsyn, One Day of.
Ivan
I
Denisovich.
always, yeah, I always forget if One Day in
Well,
Life or something. But
that
that
would
book is
be.
like,
Mhm.
like great one as well. Like I remember I read it several times, I think, re-listened to it. Quite comforting book, even though it's supposed to not be comforting at all, I think. But well, naturally, when you read about suffers of other people, you also get comforted because, well, you don't suffer that much as them in your little life, hopefully. Um, yeah. So, and I remember I was one of the times I was reading it, like listening to it while I was on a plane, and I was highly sleep deprived, and also I had to like clean something as well. I was also listening to that book, so it's like a, I don't know, great great book to do something when you feel not very nice as well. Yeah.
I once posted this joke that, I mean, like rather anecdote from my life, that I was cleaning my kitchen and fridge in a newly rented apartment while listening to Solzhenitsyn's One Day of Ivan Denisovich, and that took me like 3 or 4 hours straight of that cleaning session, and then
Yeah.
for 2 weeks straight, when I opened my fridge, I thought of Gulag camps, so of Gulag concentration camps, and so that then it kind of faded, but still was interesting. Some kind of Pavlovian experimentation on myself.
Also, yes, actually, I also, because I listen to books a lot while I draw, it's so funny to me, like when I look at particular part of the drawing sometimes I just remember the exact moment. I still, or like, I think I still remember what background I drew for like my first small indie game, when I was listening to Mary and Pippin getting separated, going different ways. And I remember, well, yeah, like for each props in the game, almost each prop in the game, I can remember some moment in the book or some moment in the movie, which is like so weird how brain like captures it and like makes this connection, like it, because it's like it's not connected at all. The subjects you draw and the subject you listen to, it's quite different, completely different, might be completely different, but you just remember it together as one thing.
It was demonstrated in that lecture from Toronto University psychological course on Coursera, like how you can remember 10 disconnected words, quite difficult words, and you just have to create a narrative, and then you will easily remember them. And well, any number of words you can do this way, it looks like, but it requires this technique.
You mean like kind of like analogy kind of thing?
Not analogy, but literally like storytelling. Like you can actually weave those words into a story. And I might drop you that lecture, but in a nutshell, so like you wake up in the morning and you do this, and then comes the first word, and then you look at the street and you see something, you describe this something with the second word, and then comes the third word. So you just put them into the narrative, and then you just retell the narrative and you remember the words. So like the cues have to be there, like memory cues that will trigger your memory slots. So I think concentration plays a big role, like concentration and organization of, like memorization is storage, memory itself, and then retrieval. So 3 steps, not just kind of passive one step
Yeah, it's
retention.
like, yeah, like it's a lot more active learning rather than just repeating the words. Like you read, you repeat, read, repeat. Like you're not concentrating enough on the words probably. So it helps you to like use those processes in your brain. I saw there is some messages.
Yeah,
Could you please
a big
read them
one.
because I cannot.
Yeah, it's about Faust. I think Faust captures the restlessness of the European spirit well, and Spengler would agree. And actually, it is also an attack on the enlightened, which makes me happy as a Catholic. Near the end of his second book, Faust says, "When we seek knowledge, let us do it with a mindful heart." And I think the final choir captures the conclusion well. And then something in German, the language which I don't speak, but I'm going to check. I'm going to check. Oh, no, it's everything that is transitory is just a parable. The inadequacy, here it becomes an event. The indescribable, here it is done. The eternal feminine draws us on high. I think it's a quote from Faust. So it will be very hard to understand, not to understand, but to rationalize the words. So, but thank you for a mindful answer. But I think we shouldn't proceed on talking about Faust because Nancy should first get acquainted with the
Yes,
art,
thank you.
with the
Thank you.
work.
Yeah.
I'm still quite impressed by this. Or Faust is more a book for men, I think. Well, that would be quite a biased statement, I must say. So I think
I actually don't like when it happens. Like, sorry, I'm interrupting you though.
it's okay.
You
Yeah.
were speaking. Well, I'm very sad when I'm mostly sad, like vice versa, when I say like, well, there is this wonderful book, and men in my life sometimes say, well, it's for women, and I'm like, well, please read it maybe as well, because well, like that, especially if a woman tells you to read the book about women that is great for women, why should you say I will never read this book, it's for women? Like, don't you want to know what people go through, what you might not experience? That's exactly why we read books. That's exactly why we tell stories. We want to tell a story that you might not ever experience in your life, does not understand how it is to be this person. And that's why you go to watch a movie, probably, hopefully, I guess, to analyze the experience of other people, to put yourself in their shoes. I mean, I do it. Like, I know there's like this typical guy movies, like this great directors, about like some guys with guns and money. I watched those movies, though I thought like I wouldn't like it. Well, I didn't like it much. It was a great movie, obviously, like from director point of view. The characters kind of were not nice, but also it was very interesting to see what people watch when they grow up. For example, um, what they get inspired, where they get their inspiration from. Um, I haven't seen the message yet.
Just attack on egalitarianism. It's
Okay.
not egalitarianism. Look, we're not. Look, like, dude, we are not on a political stage here, right? We're just saying what we feel as people, and it's the best thing to say what you think is right, not what is right for other people, because you cannot decide that. You're not a god. So I mean, a person like Nancy is just saying that she enjoys this. So what other proof do you need? It's not egalitarian. It's just what she feels, and you cannot deny that. If you deny that, you are actually gaslighting, and you are breaking the law of God, whatever God you believe in. So please continue, Nancy.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, like this, those books, like I always try to read a book that is probably not for me, because well, I want to go beyond what is for me. Otherwise, you're always in your little bubble. If I only read books for women, I'm scared for my life, to be honest, because they tend to be in one genre. And there are a lot of things like, well, a lot of women also might read books for women, and you also get some expectations, like as a, for example, a young girl, you read those books, you kind of get your idea of life, you kind of get your idea of interactions, and it also kind of makes your life hard later, because other people, they haven't read those same books as you. They might have read other books. They might have not read what? Might have not read any books. Um, so staying in your little bubble is always like bad, as I think.
Mhm.
If to summarize the thought, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, there is actually quite a simple practical check of that. Like, how many people usually complain, like, oh, she doesn't understand me, or oh, he doesn't understand me? I mean, of course, if you keep telling people to keep to their like side of the fence, how are you going to forge your mutual
Exactly.
understanding? I mean, like, if you raise like people in certain ways and you make sure that these ways are completely opposite and different, and then you complain why are we so different and they never understand us. I mean, like, wow, that's some
Soccer.
stellar logic. Like, okay, keep
Yeah.
maybe you should try harder and like separate them more, and then maybe something will change. Like, maybe they will actually, I mean, I don't know what should happen in this case. I mean, like, understanding comes exactly from exploration of terra incognita, which lies across the fence, what you're talking about. So, I mean, that's very logical. And I timed out our friend on Twitch because I think just we need to cool down some religious fervor here. It's not religious stream, and I'm getting suspicious. What's going on? Because last time and this time it's kind of too holy grounded for me. So it's I'm not that zealous, to be honest. I respect all conversations, but please don't bring such zealousness here. It's not, as I said, a political stage, and neither it is a church stage. So there was something.
I feel like
Mhm.
you want. I feel like we kind of exhausted the book topic, maybe.
No, not yet, because I wanted to say about Strugatsky,
Uh,
about this roadside picnic, because I was thinking, so you know how big the Stalker universe is actually. I mean, the whole this radioactive story, fortified by the tragedy in Chernobyl. So you know, like these games about Stalker and Fallout and all this stuff that is just mind-blowingly large, this universe, and Stalker itself is a series of books and a series of games, and a lot of people actually play this game in real life, kind of role playing. So and I just finally got to the origin of this story yesterday, and it feels quite bewildering to me, because I actually opened the book that started all this, and I hadn't even imagined that with just a simple brush of their pencil they created. They created the universe in just first pages. I mean, it was effortlessly done how they did that and how they explained that. I was like, wow. And how it's like, I don't know what to compare it with. There probably should be a comparison, but like maybe if I came to some garage where they first started to make Coca-Cola, something like that, like the first bottle was made here. But even like this is, it still feels kind of down to earth. As an example, this one is much bigger because it actually captures minds of hundreds of millions of people, has been capturing. So I'm under a big impression just by this fact.
have you got any like how do you call them? Like revelations from that?
No, I mean the book itself is quite simple. It's quite person centered. It follows one person.
No, I mean like from the experience, like of get into the
Um,
to the beginning of it all?
just maybe a slight regret that I didn't do that earlier. But I feel happy that I finally did that. Kind of, I did not know that I needed that. Let's say, so, but I did.
That's nice. That's nice, actually.
It's like unraveling some truth that was hidden from me until now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And now we can shift from books and go to some, like maybe your vacation thing, or that maybe you had some
Oh,
highlights that you wanted to share, but we traveled far away from that start of our conversation.
well, so this week has been like more successful rather than the other one. I don't have headaches. I feel quite great, which feels exciting. Um, also, I do like go to gym, and I like how like I remember like well 2 3 months ago I was thinking about going to gym, and it was completely scaring me going there by myself, doing stuff by myself without like a personal trainer or something. And now I'm just shocked how comfortable I feel like this, just doing my stuff, just exploring stuff. I'm still quite shy about trying new stuff in the gym when you don't know how exactly it's gonna be, like how exactly to move and stuff like that. So I'm still thinking about going early in the morning, so when there's like no people to try stuff out before. Yeah, but and also so the reason I went to sleep very late yesterday and I haven't got very good sleep is that I'm trying like, to make it easier to go to gym, and I'm trying to build like a library of exercises so that I can easily create my workout plan. And especially since I forget stuff quite easily, it's hard to keep in mind everything about how to do an exercise correctly, especially if you keep the rotation of exercises, if you do like different exercises every time, because well, do the same ones is quite boring, to be honest, going to gym doing the same time things over and over. So when you don't do anything like something for quite a while, you naturally forget how exactly you should move, and that can be dangerous for you. So I'm building this like library on my Notion, and I feel great that finally I got to do that, because it's been on my to-do list for like a few months. I was thinking like, well, I should have like some plan. I should like somehow organize it, but I never understood what exactly should I do about that. And now getting organized in like several parts of my life, like well, sport, nutrition kind of thing as well, is more rules are written down, more ideas of meals are written down, like wardrobe kind of option as well, because I get too overwhelmed in the shops. I never know what to buy for myself. And well, with experience, you get better at understanding what's good for you, what works for you, what kind of style do you want, what kind of clothes are comfortable for you, what do you wear. But it's still it's like a lot of hassle if you want to get to some point. So it's quite nice. Also, it helps with like I was like I had this question in my like wardrobe list, like what should my wardrobe look like? What am I? What is my life like? And besides like writing typical like, well, I mostly sit at home and work. Then I like sometimes go out for a walk. Sometimes like once a month, like once in 2 weeks, I go to some like cafe restaurant or something like that. And then I also think, and quite often I think about the situation where you have to grab your suitcases and go somewhere, or grab a like bag and go somewhere. Like also like in case of fire or in case of anything, like if you suddenly lose your place to live, what do you grab? And do you have enough like good enough wardrobe to live by for some time, and it gives me great anxiety, like great anxiety, not having a list of things I should grab first. And I, from like experience of moving, I know that my choice of stuff can be like a very poor choice. Like I think, well, I definitely need that, like that blouse. That is definitely something I wear maybe once in 3 months. But well, I love this blouse. But is that like a very important thing? Probably not. Probably it doesn't keep me warm enough. If I need, it doesn't like help me go out every day. I just have it, and once in forever I wear it. So I actually made like a list for like extreme emergency situation when you have to like immediately grab your backpack, put some things, so that you have this list immediately. You just put things, you don't think, and you don't waste time on thinking what should you grab. And also I have a list for like suitcase kind of thing. Like if I have a little bit more time and I'm like, well, I only have my
What has
suitcase.
so much drastically changed in Tbilisi since I left? I mean,
No, it's actually never. It's been like I felt like that for 2 years or something. So it's just that I got to organizing it. Yeah, and I'm like now less anxious at least. I remember like in I did something like that. Yeah, in St. Pete's after the moving as well.
Like first priority list of things.
Yeah, it also just helps like having like an emergency bag or something as well, just in case of a fire or something, where most of the stuff is already there. Some stuff, and there's like I had a list of things that I should add, like most of like some warm socks, some kind of like clothes that I don't wear, but I mean right now, but they're still good, and I can have them in my backpack. Maybe some like snacks as well, and I just replace them. In some time, maybe like a bottle of water as well, like, and I replace it too as well. Some medications as well and stuff like that. And if something happens, although never ever happened in my experience of living in the house, but if something happens, at least you have this bag, and you can just, and in this bag I had this like little list of things that I should grab that I typically use. Like I have to grab my charger for the phone, my passports, my documents and stuff like that. It should like be neatly organized as well. So but at least in that sense you don't walk around and panic, and you don't forget things because you thought of them in the state of calmness, and you can just objectively think what do you need, what you might need in different situations. So, and it helps with anxiety, it helps with sleeping better. But that also can be called sometimes like being a paranoid. But I don't believe in that. Like if it helps, it helps, and it doesn't do any harm, I guess, having this like little thing organized.
Well, we do have prescribed in law to have a medical kit in each car. So, and a tow cable, tow
Yeah.
rope, whatever that is, in fact. And so from that standpoint, I mean, it's good to have an emergency kit.
Yeah. So, well, back to vacation. It's how I spend my vacation, organizing stuff, taking some time to to take a little bit, to gain a little bit more control over my life. To actually, when I work, when I don't have time to think about that as much, I just feel safe and prepared for stuff. So it's, and also what is like revelation that is not that new and should be obvious, but I keep stumbling on it constantly, is I tend to postpone things. Like we had a conversation with you. Sometimes you don't do things because you don't need to do them, and or you will do them just in the right time but maybe the time is not now yet. And I found another answer as well to that. Sometimes you don't do things because you haven't deconstructed the thing enough. Like you have to have small steps. And I've been postponing like getting a doctor appointment here because, well, it's a different medical insurance. And I was kind of ready to just go to any hospital and like pay money. It's nothing like nothing serious, nothing emergency, nothing urgent. And I thought like maybe I should just go to any clinic and just pay money. But then I thought like, well, I don't have to pay money. I have like insurance. But it takes like lots of steps. You have to get to like this workspace where the document is everything about this medical insurance. You have to log in into your account. You have to find how to like blah blah blah. Maybe you have to call a manager in this insurance. You also don't know how you have to pay, and it's like a lot of confusion. It's a lot harder than just going to a hospital and getting an appointment, which sounds kind of like, well, silly problems, obviously, just some steps to do, but at the same time, you don't want to deal with them. It's easier not to deal with them at all.
I'm gonna play Jordan Peterson here. Like, yeah, silly problems, and I'm trying. I have good tone of voice today because it's slightly croaky, I think. So like, yeah, silly problems, but you don't do that for 2 years, and so like, how silly is that? It's not entirely clear.
Well, that's true, exactly. So I haven't been going to that doctor for 3 months, just because of that, which is not silly at all, obviously. But I mean, like, I just feel guilty for that. I feel like as if you're supposed to be stronger than that. Like, like calling to someone, asking questions is not supposed to be a hard thing to do, especially like. I feel that about myself. Like I don't speak for everyone, obviously. I don't speak for any of other people's experiences, but I just speak for myself. I know how many times I've moved, and it just feels annoying to me that I still don't do some things that are easy. So yeah, but yesterday I just kind of deconstructed that thing to little steps, so it doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel like I don't know where to start, because now I know where to start, where to go from that, and what to do after that. And well, it turns out it's quite an easy thing to do, and I deconstructed most of my tasks that I've been postponing for quite some time, and now it's quite easy, and I'm getting results. Yeah, so in that sense, I'm very happy, and well, last few days were quite productive.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
I also wanted to quote this song. I don't think I dropped it to you. About your emergency kit.
I'm just thinking about emergency kit, like, like a cat.
Yeah, so it's Silent Running by Hidden Citizens, quite a beautiful song, alternative indie genre. Take the children and yourself and hide out in the cellar. No, that's another chorus, another verse. There is a gun and ammunition just inside the doorway. Use it only in emergency. Better you should pray to God the Father, and the Spirit will guide you and protect you up from. I'm not sure why I'm slipping into the church topic again. I just followed the text. Yeah, so I mean, it's a really beautiful song. I heard it, where it was actually that site that made a series of games like Dead Space, Silent Hill, and others. You watched it, I know. So they also had, besides gaming series, the history of gaming series, they also had this translation problem series, like where they're a journalist and I think linguist. Also, he was kind of analyzing how well a game was translated into Russian from English, and he was he was looking for bloopers and some strange ways to translate things, and kind of like good like successful findings and flops. And that was exactly about that space. And there was this soundtrack inside the video. They used it to illustrate the action in the game, and it was really beautifully integrated. But then I think YouTube struck them with the property rights, and they had to remove all the audio from their videos that was copyrighted. And I think this episode now feels really bleak and kind of stripped without the soundtrack line, because there were different songs there, which I downloaded for myself because they were wonderful. I should check, maybe they brought them back. Because if they did, I will totally recommend watching, because Dead Space is a very, very emotional game, and music there was just fascinating, and this track especially, just nice one. Quite quite not a sad track, but I would say unnerving a bit, and fast paced, but really beautiful song. So yeah, are you planning to make any crepes this week?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Maybe next week.
But Maslin says no.
Well, who cares?
Well, how to answer to that?
Sorry, but yeah, like you can make crepes any day, any day. So
Yes, I can.
I just exactly. Uh, yeah, like I'm also I'm not very good at them. It's always it takes some time. Yeah.
How about St. Patrick's? It's gonna be Sunday, the 17th of March.
How about it?
I mean, are you going to maybe hit a bar, and or maybe buy some green beer and drink it?
I also haven't thought about it.
Or you can buy tarhun, which you have in plenty in Tbilisi. So
Yeah. It's actually, I think it's Tarhuni in Georgian. Yeah, so
you know what I was told this week, that if you mix that blue syrup that you had in Tbilisi,
the curacao.
curacao, yes, if you mix it with beer, you get green beer. And I don't want to buy curacao because I don't like it. I mean, I liked it, but it saved my chacha bottle, because it was easier to drink it with it. But for me it's kind of too chemical, and I don't like chemical additives.
It's also quite sweet.
Yes, which is okay for brandy or for cheap
I mean, it's kind of
drinks.
it's a different kind of sweet, I think.
So it's not my thing, let's say, and I think it's
Yeah.
quite expensive also. At least it's not cheap, I'm sure.
Exactly. I think I would love to buy one like little small bottle, because I don't want to have it for half a year or a year in my fridge again. Yeah, like I don't drink much, so I just don't know what to do with that. But I like blue drinks as well. It's quite nice. So so I haven't think about like St. Patrick's Day. Really sounds like I'm the most boring person right now. Like no holidays for me, to be honest. Please. But yeah, I was just like, well, I spent my vacation organizing my life, working on stuff and studying new materials, like studying 3D more. Don't ask me about holidays.
Do you want to talk about your 3D studying then? Because you showed me that microphone that you made.
Yeah, well, so yeah, about holidays, I'm obviously joking. Like, well, I'm just forgot about it. I'm planning to go out on Saturday, I think, but maybe on Sunday too. I think, yeah, I'll think about it now. I wanted to ask you first about your plans to that, and we can.
I'm not going to miss St. Patrick's, of course. You know, it's a big thing for me with
Mhm.
the
What
club,
you
the
can do.
English club history. I don't think something special, but I'll think about this day at least, and I'll probably have something green to drink, either tea or tarhun, or maybe I'll fetch some green beer if I'm lucky.
Mhm.
It depends on my work schedule.
Is it like actually green,
Well, there is green beer,
or it's
definitely.
just called
There
green
is,
beer?
yeah, like bars on St. Patrick's Day usually serve green beer. I'm not sure how they do that chemically, if it is natural
Mhm.
or unnatural. Like unnatural, like some fucking shit that is happening like on that day, like just some sinister energies, just and they try to get rid of it through pouring it into people's mouths. So like we don't want this here.
Something happens on that day, and you're like, "Wow."
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Like by the prickling of
Mhm.
my thumbs, something evil this week comes.
What's that from?
It's from Halloween's poems, I think. I'm not sure what exactly is the origin, but the prickling of my from the pricking of my thumb. Sorry, something wicked this way comes. Oh, it's Shakespeare. Macbeth. Wow, by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. У меня разнылся палец, к нам идет дурной скиталец. Палец у меня зудит, что-то грешное спешит. And many other translations. Кровь застыла, пальцы лед, что-то страшное грядет. Колет пальцы, так всегда надвигается беда. Who would have thought? I wonder how that sounded for those who don't speak Russian, because it's like it's still rhymed,
Yeah.
so it sounds like a poem, but unintelligible. So exactly like
Learning
some kind of
languages.
incantation, like Latin.
Yeah, like we're learning languages. I kind of like get upset about now being able to understand this kind of things and never being able to hear the language as if you don't know it ever again. Like it doesn't ever sounds the same to you. I don't remember how to hear English not understanding it.
Interestingly, I cannot complain about the same thing. I often get showered by the realization that I enjoy listening to English as if for the first time.
It's not about it's not about enjoying. I mean, like you understand it though, anyways.
I kind of lose it for a second or two, and I just embrace the melody. Which is my just maybe specifics, because I told you that I don't focus on the words in songs, and I couldn't care less often, and I might have heard the song like countless times and I wouldn't be able to recite a single line.
That's a mystery to me. It happens to me like when I maybe first time hear the song. In some songs, it happens more often than not. But if I listen to a song several times, I definitely remember it. Like not remember, but like I understand everything I hear, and it's not like something not understandable. So interesting.
Yeah, melody for me is always like the center piece, the locus of my attention. So about 3D stuff.
Yeah, I just thought about the melody like that. I always had problems with like poems and rhymes. I never could read poems, never liked them because I never understood them much. Like poetry was not my thing ever. I read and I'm like, what? like, could you just like wait, write it normally, please, so I understand the story? Why do you have to like complicate it? Just kind of unnecessary to the story. So yeah, maybe I'm just like kind of, well, naturally not good at the skill of of like I don't know, feeling this melodical thing. Like I always been bad with rhythm. Like in dancing, it's quite hard for me to to feel the rhythm correctly, comparing to other people. In my experience, I never can understand what they're talking about and how they move in the tact. And with like the poetry as well, I think it's always been like that. But it changed when I listened to an audio of Lermontov Mtsiri. I really opened poetry for me, I think.
Hmm.
So now I'm quite curious about trying to read it again, to try.
So poetry has different these measurements. I think.
Mm.
Never studied this in English.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, food.
Food.
Wow.
I was thought like steps or something.
Uh, Classical meter. Dactyl, amphibrach. Now, at least they have the same names in English.
Yeah.
But gosh, there are many more than I knew. Of course, I mean, I'm not a professional linguist, but oh my gosh. All right, there are 4 step, 4
I
syllable.
remember in literature class we were like studying that obviously, and it was always for me like so complicated. Like I could never decompose it correctly. I think it was just like maybe well I also kind of well I didn't pay attention in class much, so obviously I couldn't do what everyone was doing or most of the people were doing. But since then, like I couldn't understand how to read poetry as well. Like you don't get onto the correct you don't get to pronounce it correctly when you don't understand it, so it also loses its magic. And but at the same time, and you know, you can hear the rhythm, you can like somebody can read it to you and you still like that's too complicated. Like again, you cannot understand anything from that.
So why I brought into light this topic on feet in poetry is like most poems actually make me want to vomit. Like I read this piece and I'm like, what like pathetic nonsense is this? And the majority of poetry has been like that throughout my life for me. While some kind of niche indie poetry, let's put it this way, sometimes makes me so excited. And I think it might be connected to exactly the way people compose things. Like maybe it's rhythmically. Just I'm incompatible with some rhythms and very compatible with the other ones.
I think that makes great sense, to be honest, given how many people constantly have disagreements on what poetry is good and bad. It's just like maybe it's just a matter of taste. Just my guess, an educated guess. In that.
I'll need to take
That's,
some of my favorite ones and take them to some professional poetry expert and just study the like examine the anatomy of that of those pieces. It's interesting because maybe there is actually some scientific explanation why that happens.
is it like some modern indie poems or something?
Yes, mostly yes.
Nothing like classical.
Very rarely. I used to kind of like Asadov, but he is also in the 20th century, so I mean Pushkin wasn't bad. And I mean, I didn't hate it, but some certain poetry just kind of is revulsive, like repellent,
Repulsive.
repellent for me. I don't know, revulsion is a thing, but revulsive, no. Give me a second. I'm glitching here. Revulsion, a sense of disgust and loathing. Yes. So revulsion adjective is revulsive. Okay. Maybe in my head it was repugnant and revulsive. Maybe so. Yeah. Any of this repellent, repugnant, revulsive just makes me kind of cringe. And please, no, thank you.
I always also, think about, well, some of the poems, they're quite easy to understand. Like you read, you understand what the sentence is about. There's no metaphors. And it's easy to read. It's nice. It's good. But because of the easiness, I tend to feel like, well, that's not like a high poetry then.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then, well, can you say that about Lermontov? Do you dare to say that about Lermontov, some poems? Like, because I can understand them, and that's partly the reason I like them, because it's easy for my brain to understand them. And immediately as I understand them, I feel like, well, that's because maybe they're not as like complicated and good, and I should go for something harder. But that's just like well, something fun I noticed, I guess, in approach I take.
I also should take this chance to compliment Oleg, our mutual friend who was on the stream just some time ago, maybe still listening. So his poems, actually, I liked. I mean, at least one definitely on his wiki page I liked, and I wanted even to make some artwork with it. Cannot recite it, but I thought it was a good piece. So, and I really rarely resonate with poetry, so that was quite outstanding.
I didn't know he wrote poems. I need to
Yes, he
go
did.
check it out.
He did, yes.
I'll check it out then, yeah, after the stream, for sure.
They're kind of long ago. I mean, long below on his wiki page. Maybe you can ask him. Maybe he has some storage of his poems somewhere, and I can definitely forward
Have
you
you
the.
ever?
Sorry.
Sorry. No.
I can
You.
forward you the one that I'm talking about.
Sure. I make a terrible habit of interrupting you sometimes, getting too excited of saying something immediately.
I haven't noticed much of that,
Well,
so it's all right.
yeah. So I wanted to ask you: have you ever written any poems?
Yes, I have. Those were very simple, and actually miss them because I wrote them at the end of school, and at the beginning of university, and they were like no more than 5, and they were very primitive, but still.
Were they, if I can ask, like some was the
Social.
what drove you?
Social. How do we put that? Societal frustration, personal frustration. Yes.
I was like, I think I have one of mine. Like I wrote them like maybe when I was 13 or 12 or something like that. I think I wrote just 2. I was not good, obviously, quite bad. I think I asked our mom's friend to check it out, like to give me some critique, and they gave it, and well, it was interesting, but obviously comparing to like other writers my age and a little bit older, on this side, I understood like, well, no, that's not my thing. But it was quite nice to, well, feel poetical for a second. And I was just wanted to check it out if I have it still, but it's on my like hard drive. I need to plug it into my laptop and check if I have it still. I think it was about a wolf. I remember it was about a wolf, but a wolf without a pack, I think it was.
Oh,
I
a he wolf or a she
hope I can.
wolf?
I don't think I paid attention to that. I'm not sure. I don't remember much about it. Just remember like maybe that bit. I'll try to look at it to look it up.
Right.
Yeah. What a literate podcast today.
Yes.
Literate? Is that the word?
Yes. Maybe literary, rather. I mean, it depends on.
I don't want to pronounce it.
Depends on what you want to stress out. That we are literate. That is, that we are educated and we went to school, or that we focus on some kind of bookish stuff and then it's literary.
Well, obviously the second one, but I have problems with R and L together, so I don't want to.
You know this terrible
Make
word that I
myself
hate,
suffer.
which is itinerary, which is a route for traveling. So I hate it. Like itinerary. Like what inconceivable. Absolutely. Like there are words that are twice or thrice as long, and they're still easier to say than itinerary.
And the same time, it's so fun to challenge yourself with trying to pronounce words in a language. Like I get quite comfortable with English now. I get quite comfortable in Russian. I am quite comfortable in French as well, like because I've been speaking in French since childhood. But now, like getting to the Georgian, it's so many new sounds, so many new types of sounds that you just like what, and then you get like very like you put consonants too close and like you don't expect them to be close to each other, but they are, and like making your tongue to twist in different ways, like as you, it's very fun to be honest. So that word made me think about that. Have you had that experience with Spanish, by the way?
Spanish has the same phonetics as Russian.
But still,
Like the more like kind of the more Russian you speak, the better.
Well,
So
yeah.
well,
with
with one exception, with a couple of exceptions. So like they have this v sound, which is both b and v, which is absolutely mind blowing. Like that they are actually the same thing, but maybe makes sense. And another thing is that they have to hissing sounds. Damn it! So I meant th and th in like your tongue doesn't stick between your teeth, but it goes into your palate, and then you make this. So the word cerveza or cerveza, which is beer, it contains both. But if you speak Latin American Spanish, you can just say cerveza. Like and nobody cares. Like it's only Madrid Spanish that follows this rule, but in Latin America you can just say s like in Russian, and so there is no problem for those who speak Russian to speak Spanish in that matter.
Yeah. Wanted to add something, but forgot.
French, something about some other.
No. It was still about the Georgian, but yeah. Well, maybe not important then.
Then maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should interrupt, because
No, I actually should just focus better
Okay.
and remember stuff. That's better for my memory and concentration skills,
Mm.
I would say. Um, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to remember. That's not a problem.
3D.
Yeah. So 3D, yes. Sorry, I keep like, avoiding it, but it's not on purpose. It's just quite an interesting conversation happening. Well, yeah, I've been like taking some time from well, as I'm resting from work, I decided not to draw much as well to get the feeling of missing Photoshop a little bit. So I didn't draw besides drawing in my sketchbook, and I started studying 3D modeling, continuing studying. I actually remember that I've been like doing some little 3Ds ever since I think 2017, but it was in different program, and like every year I did a little bit in different programs, like this and that. So in that sense, it's quite nice to be comfortable. Like it's nothing new. It's nothing that blows your mind. Like what different hotkeys, different ways to think of media. Like when you in Photoshop, you just have like one layer. I mean, one 2D, two-dimensional picture, which is funny about layers. Maybe it's funny for people who do 3D and 2D, but I was like, I wanted to rearrange the layers in my 3D program as I do in 2D so that something would be on top of the other thing. And I was like, well, how do you rearrange the layers? I cannot do that. And then I thought, well, that's actually just 3D. So you actually just move the objects. And that's how they get on top of the other objects. That's how they get like behind or like in front of them. Like it's not two-dimensional anymore. It's
Fascinating.
yes.
It just works. Quoting one famous game publisher.
Yeah, but after you spend so many hours, like thousands of hours in Photoshop, it really is fascinating. It's actually not how your brain works anymore. So you do think like, well, can I do that as I do in Photoshop? But it's not Photoshop, obviously. Well, yeah, but that happened a few years ago, so don't judge me too much.
I'm not judging at all.
I'm just joking. Yeah. Yeah, so right now I've been doing this, like following this course, made this microphone thingy, following that course, trying to remember and take a lot of notes, which feels quite overwhelming, to be honest, because in 3D, as it feels, there is not always one way to build something. There is different ways, and sometimes you have to think ahead, like you can't just start modeling and then like as you go decide what to do next. Sometimes you have to think several steps ahead, and it's well it's painful for me because I typically love to just start doing stuff and do them, and Photoshop kind of allowed me to do that in my pipeline and what I drew. With 3D it works a little bit more, it works a little bit differently. And today I lost some, like something was not working correctly, and I had to come back and redo the detail maybe 5 times before I got it right so that it would work. And there was like some not very obvious mistake. I don't even know if it was a mistake, because at the end of the day it just fixed itself, kind of, almost. I just did this and like little tweaks and stuff, and I'm not sure what exactly fixed the problem. But I get the feeling sometimes it's how it works. Yeah, but it's quite exciting.
So the course is going to be how long?
Oh, it's like it's just a free course. I think I almost done it. So next is just other stuff, like other little courses and tutorials. But I also don't want to focus too much on just following the tutorials, because in my experience, when you follow a tutorial, you do great. It's not that hard to just click the buttons. Sometimes something goes wrong, but basically just click the buttons. The real problems start when you think of your own model, you start building it, and you're like, oh, I kind of remember they built it this, like they showed it us like how to build a wheel, for example, but well, now you have to remember how to build it. So now what I'm doing when I'm following a tutorial, first of all, I take notes of everything, so I can come back to that and read what exactly the thing does. But at the same time, you have to pay a lot of attention to why you do it exactly this way, so that your brain remembered that to build something similar, it's better to use this modifier, this like whatever pipeline.
It reminds me
Which
of
is still overwhelming.
me of how it works in education. You know, like that you can follow steps and do the task does not mean that you will be successful when in free practice. Like you will immediately stumble into things you don't understand, and there'll be many things that you don't understand because you just followed some algorithms. And it's like production versus completion of some pre-made task are like they're extremely different.
Yeah, that's exactly why in 3D, as I feel, and I think I haven't watched the video yet, but I saved it on my YouTube. I wanted to watch it today. Like, I think I saw that they were talking exactly about the same thing. Like, you shouldn't just follow tutorials if you want to learn 3D program. Maybe get to know the basics, like sometimes taking a little small course on the basic functions, getting comfortable with navigation and blah, blah, blah. It's good thing, obviously, without it, you won't be able to know what the program is capable of. But before getting into way too complicated things, like you finish the basic course, then go build your own models, and you immediately stumble on those problems and you will have to solve them. And that's how you learn, and that's how you remember it much better. When you have to solve your own problems that you created, basically, not someone created for you. So yeah, and then yeah, maybe like go and try to find what else is program capable of, how to make this particular, or like if you know exactly, like, well, for this I want to, I don't know, have a blanket on my couch, but I don't know how to create that kind of cloth material blanket that is just like this. And for that you can go like, yeah, find a tutorial, like, well, how to do that. It's quite interesting.
I'm thinking of Lego.
Yeah. I'm thinking that Lego is a little bit like easier in
Sure, I mean, by a million times.
No,
but...
I'm just like thinking how easy it would be to like construct something in just in the 3D program. What always annoys me in a 3D program, to be honest, is that you have to do it with mouse and keyboard. You
want some Tony Stark?
Well, it's not necessarily Tony Stark. It's already here. It's
just I think I saw that. Yeah, it looked
it's
absolutely wonderful.
It is actually. It's quite nice that you can just do it by your hands. You can like turn a model. You can add stuff to that. That feels more natural. That feels like sculpting with like plasticine or whatever, with clay. It feels better to do that. Unfortunately, with like VR, it's like your head. You cannot work like 8 hours like that. You cannot, like, because you get dizzy, you get headaches. Unfortunately, you can only do it for so long before you get bad feelings. So that's why, for example, right now in the industry, it's not like a standard practice to use this in the pipeline, because you just can't make people work in that program for 8 hours a day or for 6 hours a day. They would feel bad. So I'm just waiting until it gets better. But it is interesting, it is promising, hopefully.
Yeah, I remember that video with some guy designing something through VR. It was just jaw dropping, and I thought, I want to do this way exactly.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, do you think we should be slowly starting to wrap up for today? It's been quite intense.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, I think it was quite a good stream.
Yeah, it was
Um,
actually very saturated with various cool content. But let's think of next week. I think for me, the goals of this week have been met. They were like business oriented, but for next week, so I'm going to wait for the answers for my requests to my requests, and depending on that, next steps. But it's probably going to be all about business and repairing my financial stability and removing business frustration, I would say. Maybe streaming a bit more. Definitely more. I must.
By the way, I wanted to ask about the streaming. Like, you just didn't feel like streaming, or you
It
kind of
just
like
slipped my
got.
mind, to be honest, that I actually could. So I just I did something different. I mean, Dune was like Saturday, Sunday was something else, and then and so on and so forth. So just slipped my
Yeah,
mind.
understandable. Yeah. Um, should I? Yeah, I guess. Well, for me, I guess the half of the week is to finish everything or at least try to finish everything I planned for the vacation. Obviously, I now look that I planned way too much and I didn't think of resting with that plan. So in reality, it turns out I do want to rest a little bit on my vacation. It feels quite annoying that I have to work a lot on my vacation, so I did rest. But I do want to finish some stuff and be more prepared and lay out the templates for doing stuff easier in life, like deconstructing every task that I will have to do in the nearest future, so that I'll do it without thinking much. I think that's the plan for until the Monday, and on Monday back to work. So that's gonna take some adjustments as well, little adjustments, but hopefully won't affect schedule much. Yeah, that's I think the main focus of the week.
So work related also.
Yeah.
All right. So let me thank those who have participated. First of all, Otto, of course, for brightening up the start of the stream with his hello. To Oleg and Alina, who was, I think, somewhere around Oleg, and probably watched us as well. Oh, Otto's still here, actually. You also have a great evening, man. Thank you.
Yes.
Then on Twitch, Revan number 1, it is Vova, and now already not banned, but timed out, and so it was for 10 minutes, but a lost night for the cross hasn't returned. Maybe he was listening silently, so hopefully the little misunderstanding wasn't taken as an offense, so just kind of keeping some topics out of our conversation. Yeah, those who have been here silently, also thanks to you very much for your support.
Yeah.
Nancy, to you for being my co-caster day.
To you too, as well.
Yeah,
As
and
always.
we'll meet each other next Thursday at the same time. And I'm going to stop the stream now, and we'll have some little feedback, I guess, afterwards. So goodbye, everyone. Have a nice one.